Welcome back to Tribune Sports After Dark. We are here with our prep football recap from Friday night. I'm your host, as always, Stefan Wiebe, and as always, joined by Cody, Trevor, and Sam. And with that, we'll jump right into our scores for Week 8 of prep football. So we got Lewiston with a senior day win over Sandpoint, 54-27. West Valley shuts out Clarkston, 34-0. Bonus Ferry beating Moscow, 41-26. Pullman over Rogers in overtime, 19-16. Asotin beating Reardon, 33-0. Colfax over Liberty of Spangle, 32-21. We have Genesee over Lakeside, 50-42. Kendrick over Kamei, 68-14. That was a battle of unbeaten teams. Troy beating Lapway, 58-46. Pomeroy over Toccoa Rosalia, 60-12. Prairie over Potlatch, 56-38. Salmon River over Garden Valley, 52-50, and Grangeville over St. Mary's, 50-0. And we'll jump right in to the big win for Lewiston, beating Sandpoint on Senior Day. Sam, you were at the game. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was an exciting atmosphere at the P1FC Sports Complex. Lewiston's final home game. It was particularly nice that senior quarterback Mason Way was able to make his way back to the starting lineup. Way had been out since week 1, since he suffered, I believe, a thumb injury, and had to leave that game. And so he had been, rehabbing and recovering, and he had circled this game as a potential and desired return date. And he made his way back, and he just was fantastic. And so Mason Way, he passed for almost 200 yards. He ran for 39 yards. He generated 4 touchdowns, including 3 rushing touchdowns. And he just spread the ball out pretty well. It was his first game playing with DJ Wilkerson. And so Wilkerson generated almost over 200 yards, both on the ground and through the air. And Lewiston beat Sandpoint 54-27. Now, Sandpoint came in ranked number 5 in the Idaho State and Media poll. And so for Lewiston to be able to not only just beat Sandpoint, but beat Sandpoint very convincingly. And the score is even closer than the game was. It was 50-something it was 54 rather to 13 or so until the last 4 minutes when Sandpoint was able to get 2 garbage time touchdowns. But lots of love for Lewiston, and then for Coach Zane Hobart. This is the power of coaching. Over the court, we saw what he was able to do at Kendrick, 4 straight state championships, and now coaching at his alma mater alongside his Lewiston faithful staff. They've got the Bengals much improved from where they were just 2 months ago, and looking at a chance to really make some noise or make the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously it's been a bit of an up and down season for Lewiston. They've had a lot of injuries. Definitely got to give a shout out to their quarterbacks this season, which they've played at least 3 quarterbacks. Yeah. So nice for them to have Mason Way coming back and have such a good game after missing the entire season. So great job for the great senior day win for Lewiston. Zane was telling you that the bye week really helped him out. Good preparation this week. I get what was different about this Lewiston team compared to some of the other games you've covered from them this year.
Well, they were really focused, particularly on defense. Now, we've seen some offenses kind of walk all over the Bengals. Post Falls, for example, was kind of able to have their way in the first half. Then Lewiston made some adjustments and was able to respond in the second half and just came up like 10 points short in their home opener. Now in their home closer, the last home game, they were just lights out on defense. Sandpoint has a really prolific offense. They've got a quarterback who had, I believe, like the second most yards in the state. They had 2 receivers who were kind of ranked up there in the top 5 as well on the 5A classification in the state of Idaho. And so the game plan for Lewiston was pretty simple. It was to contain those 2 receivers. And, those 2 receivers still made some plays, including a 48-yard touchdown on Sandpoint's opening drive. But after that, it was pretty much all Bengals. They really were able to shut down Sandpoint's attack and were able to come up with an interception, a couple of sacks, a lot of turnover on downs, and just really exert their will and put their offense in the best position possible.
You're talking about their defense quite a bit because their defense obviously did perform really well today. Mason Way might have unlocked some of the offense. What does this mean for Lewiston going forward, say, the next couple of games and even going into the playoffs?
Yeah, so Lewiston's got 2 games left at Lake City and then at Lakeland. Lakeland's their other league opponent, and so they're really having all eyes on Lakeland, but also, obviously can't overlook Lake City. And so if they can beat Lake City, which they have a decent chance to do, and then who knows what they do against Lakeland. They'll set themselves up really well for the playoffs. This win pretty much, they were saying, guarantees themselves a spot in the playoffs, barring disaster. And then it's what they can do these next 2 weeks that'll determine their exact seeding and potentially, the chance to win the league and get a home playoff game, which is a very real possibility if they can beat Lakeland.
All right, and we'll move on to another one of our Big Four teams in Pullman getting an overtime victory today. Another team that's had a bit of an up and down season, but a very exciting one for the Greyhounds tonight. Trevor, why don't you tell us a little bit about Pullman's big victory?
Yeah, well, first off, they conceded a safety in the second quarter, so it was 2 to I think it was 16-2 at that point.
No, it was 0-0. Then the safety was the first point of the game.
You're right. And then Pullman really wanted a drive for 16 points. And then late in the fourth quarter, Rogers really battled back. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter and caused it to go in overtime. And it was an overtime thriller. You gotta give credit to their kicker, Adi Alushuehi. He I don't know. He really went off. He went 2 for 2 for field goals, which is pretty rare to see in a high school football game. Really, kickers are people too. They matter in football. And he got them to 16-2, and then he nailed the last field goal in overtime to give them the win at 19-16.
Yeah, a couple things. I've seen resurgences of this, surges of this season. Safeties, there has been an amazing spate. There are several safeties in this prep roundup we put together today.
A few last week as well.
Yes, exactly. I've barely seen a safety in my entire career, years of doing this. And then it just seems like there are gobs of them. That and field goals. Now, Al-Shuayi with 2 field goals, and that made the difference. And he was also kicking the PAT points. So he actually scored. Did he kick a PAT after every one of their touchdowns?
He missed one, but he got the other one.
So he got 2. Well, 1 PAT kick and 2. He scored 7 of their 19 points.
Yeah.
Just kicking.
Yeah, I mean, game-winning kicks in high school are just a very rare thing. So that's got to be a great moment there for the Greyhounds to get that win there.
Their second win of the season, and now they're 2-2 in league. And I will admit, I don't know if I'm saying this, but Cody and I had a little debate last week about if Pullman can be in the top half of their league. I said no. Cody said yes. And I think I'm wrong. I think Pullman really can compete with most of their league, and will finish probably in the top half if they keep performing like this.
Right. Looking at it, I just checked what Pullman's remaining league schedule is. Looks like they have to face North Central of Spokane. And they've played 3 of the same teams as North Central, would be Deer Park, Rogers, and one other. But I think that Pullman did better against 2 of the 3 teams. So that would, and then the other one is Clarkston, which we will speak of later. But Clarkston has not excelled this season. So be likely the Hounds are favorites in both those games and could wind up finishing 3rd in league. Would be my projection.
And you're probably absolutely right.
All right, and we will stick with you, Cody. Moving on to another very big game this week. Kendrick beating Kamei 68-14. 2 teams that were undefeated going in. Obviously, we had a feeling that it was probably going to be a score about like this. Kendrick's just been so good. But Kamei actually getting on the scoreboard against Kendrick, which is not something most of the teams that Kendrick has faced have been able to do this season. So tell us a little bit about it.
Right. We didn't. I don't know if we added up the updated figures, or at least I did not. But as of last week, Kendrick had won 4 consecutive shutouts. Had given up only 1 touchdown through 6 total games this season. The Tigers had scored something like 300 consecutive points before Kamei finally got on the board. 300 consecutive points through those, 4 and 1 fraction games, as opposed to obviously in this one outing. But the Cubs breaking up a run of hundreds of unanswered points, or hitherto unanswered points for the Tigers. But this was an amazing night for Maddox Kirkland. The Kendrick quarterback came in with 5 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. I believe their youthful coach, Ty Kep, told me Kirkland passed 17 for 21 for 317 yards on the day, and then he added also a little bit of rushing yardage to that. The Tigers have been untouchable. You can't really say Kamiai touched them, but Kamiai at least again registered. I mean, they didn't. This is a team in Kendrick that has had a 102-0 victory, a 90-0 victory. That kind of thing has been par for the course. So Kamiai even getting both touchdowns, by the way, courtesy of Everett Oatman, who feels to me like he's been playing for the Cubs forever. But then again, there have been multiple Oatmans. That's one of the the distinguished families of Kamiai. So we speculated. I think I said last week I thought Kamiai and Logos were likely to at least get on the board against Kendrick, and it looks like they've done that. I am impressed that the Cubs actually scored twice.
Yeah, I mean, as much as Kendrick is dominant, it is notable to see that Kamiai put up 14.
Yes.
As ridiculous as that may sound,
Yeah.
putting up 14 against what Ryan Ball called the best 8-man football team he's ever seen,
Yeah.
is a great thing and a great thing for Kamiai.
To be clear, these teams were both undefeated on the season coming into this game. They were the top two teams in Idaho Class 2A state media polling. Number one plays number two, and it's a 68-14 blitz. It could have been worse. Kendrick had 62 points at halftime and, benched the starters. That is, again, just how out of anyone's league the Tigers seem to be. Even though they're technically in the league with these guys, and we can see, I think only maybe the Logos Knights have a chance to, do better. And even that, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of say the same thing every week. I
Yes.
mean, this Kendrick is a dynasty football team, and this is easily the best that they've ever been, at least as far as the scores in these games so far. Beating the second best team poll-wise in your entire classification by 54 points is crazy.
After benching the starters.
Yeah,
into the
after-
league.
And I don't even think Kamiai will really fall that far in the rankings either.
And they shouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have kind of said it, but Kamiai is no slouch of a team. They deserve their ranking, and it's just Kendrick is that good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, when you think of teams that could be number two, maybe Grace. Kendrick hasn't faced Grace. They probably will in the playoffs. Maybe Grace, kind of blew out Clearwater Valley this year. Clearwater Valley remains winless on the year. And so, you could make a case for swapping Grace and Kamiai, but given the Cubs, given what Kendrick is, who the Tigers are, and the effort Kamiai was able to put forth, I don't see a reason to drop him from two.
There's still the Logos Knights, who have beaten some of the same opponents worse than Kamiai did, although Kamiai pulled the 22-20 win over Logos when they were on the field with each other. Kendrick, again, this was really the tour de force for Maddox Kirkland. Also coming in was Cade Silflo with 3 scoring receptions. A lot of the usual names showed up here. Definitely, I would say this is the banner performance for Kirkland. In fact, I reserve him for Player of the Week purposes later on in this broadcast, and I hope we have given sufficient fodder for more Kendrick-themed YouTube shorts.
Can we stick in the 2A White Pine League here and talk about Potlatch and Prairie?
yeah, you want to talk a little bit about that one? Two teams that have also been ranked this season.
Yeah. So Prairie won 56-38. Pretty close game for most of the game. But then you got to look at guys like Cade Quintal, Prairie quarterback, passed for 20 for 26 for 416 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Levi Gehring had 18 carries for 143 yards and 4 scores. Prairie just is a team that's going to compete. Potlatch is a team that's going to compete. Those are 2 teams that are going to be out there in the 2A White Pine. So those are definitely a score that should not go unnoticed. Although Prairie winning, I guess, by over 2 or 3 scores is kind of surprising over Potlatch. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was expecting the Loggers to win that one, and so it was. But you have 2 teams, Prairie and Potlatch, are kind of at the same level. They've each kind of taken turns, being number 4, number 5, or one out, one in this season over the course in terms of the media polling, as much as that means or maybe doesn't mean. But it just means that they were both undefeated for a while. Prairie had that banner victory over Valley on the road earlier in this season, which was also another ranked team from down south, and so. The 2A level seems to be dominated by the White Pine League, and so you have Kendrick at the top, Logos and Kamiai there, but you have obviously Prairie and Potlatch, who are also capable teams, and you've seen that in a head-to-head matchup, Prairie was able to edge them out. So that's pretty neat. And great, bodes well for the Pirates.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as we've been discussing in the office, this is the second consecutive season. It's something Steph has been fond of saying, that Potlatch kind of started its schedule facing the lower half of the league, and then has had to start taking on the big guns as it rounded past the midway point. Prairie kind of on the opposite trajectory, had some of the tough games early, and Potlatch came in with the better record, but that could have been deceptive, as it would seem. Obviously, Prairie pulling this one out, although it was a highly competitive contest.
All right, and we'll move on to a couple of 3 undefeated teams that we still have in our area that have just been kind of rolling through their seasons. That would be Genesee, Pomeroy, and Colfax. And Genesee, of course, in a co-op with Colton, Washington. But Genesee beat Lakeside 50-42. We got Pomeroy over Toccoa Roselia 60-12, and then Colfax over Liberty 32-21. So all 3 of those teams still undefeated. Great seasons for these guys. I guess what stands out to you guys about any of these teams and the seasons they're having, the games they had today?
Well, I think the Genesee game is the overall highlight, where the Bulldogs were trailing 42-14 midway through the second quarter. They ran off the last 36 consecutive points. They spoiled homecoming for Lakeside of Plummer. An incredible comeback. I feel like that is the biggest comeback I've heard of this year. Anyone coming back from 28 points down before halftime.
I can't think of any others.
Yeah, that would have been an excellent lead item in its own right. This is one of these nights where there are a lot of good options. There's also Kendrick and MEIDA, the 2 undefeateds, the top 2 teams in the state polling. There's the Hounds winning in overtime. It's a stacked night of prep football. But I think that Genesee win is extraordinary. It was, of course, their hero quarterback, Jackson Banks, a recent prep athlete of the week of ours.
Our first one of the year, I think.
Yes,
was
yes.
him, yeah.
Who came in that second half rushing for 4 consecutive touchdowns that, brought the Bulldogs over the finish line. So
I'll talk about Colfax a little bit here. Colfax,
another team of Bulldogs, by the way.
yeah,
Sorry,
another
go on.
Bulldogs team. Colfax beat Liberty of Spangle 32-21, and in the game, Colfax actually committed 5 turnovers. They really had to bounce back from that, but then they also got 2 safeties from Liberty, and then guys like Brody Fleming scored 2 touchdowns. Isaac Nelson and Riker Reed both scored a touchdown in the third and the fourth quarter. The turnovers were so big, and they felt so brutal in the moment. And Colfax really toughened up, he said, and really pulled through to stay 5-0, well, to be 5-0 and 2-0 in league. So huge win for Colfax, especially facing those exact adversities and committing 5 turnovers.
Another thing to mention, 2 safeties.
Yeah,
2
2
safeties for Colfax.
2 safeties and 2 takeaways.
Yeah, no, I mean 2 safeties in one game. 1 safety in a game, almost unheard of. I think I probably could have counted on one hand the number of safeties I had ever recorded in these boxes, all the hundreds and hundreds of boxes over the years. Now it's 2 weeks in a row that we had at least one game with 2 safeties in that game. What's happening?
Lots of safeties. A lot of injuries to quarterbacks this season, maybe ending with Pomeroy over Toccoa Roselia 60-12. They lost their quarterback in that game, Vinny Vecchio, to an injury, and then Kaiser Harris, the star running back, stepped in, and Pomeroy didn't really lose a step in that game, getting another big win. But you do hope to see maybe their quarter. Hopefully, it's not a bad injury, and they can get back to full strength, because Pomeroy, a team that hasn't quite gotten over the hump as far as playoff football. They're always a very good team, and so if they're going to take that next step, they probably do need to be at full strength. But another big win for those guys today.
Harrison stepping into Rory McKinnon, the backup quarterback, got injured as well.
Minor correction on that. Vecchio didn't play at all. He was out before the game, and then they lost relief quarterback Rory McKiernan in the second quarter.
So multiple injuries to Pomeroy. That's tough for a team that's undefeated right now. And
but still winning 60-12.
60-12 with their third string quarterback.
Once they get to those playoff teams, though, they're not going to be winning 60-12, especially without some star players.
Mm-hmm.
But big win for them today, though. Anything else from that one you guys stood out to you guys? I think
Also,
that
you could
about covers
note
it.
Pomeroy was in a little bit of trouble early, giving up 2 of the first 3 touchdowns, down 12-8, and then scored the last, 52 points of the game. Not quite as dramatic a comeback again as Genesee, but yeah.
And I will say that I guess it's worth mentioning that Kyle Kimball, even before the season even started, had said they do have kind of a few guys who could maybe play that quarterback position. But then, and obviously they've shown that, but then you still got to have guys maybe stepping into those other roles that were left behind with doing that.
Definitely shows the depth for the Pirates.
Absolutely.
And with that, that'll be the end of this week of Tribune Sports After Dark. Stick around for some college football and some new outfits from Sam and Trevor, and we will be back next week.
Hello and welcome to the college football edition of The Final Whistle. Here with Trevor John, our Idaho beat writer.
How you doing, Sam?
Pretty good, Trevor. And probably better than the Vandals, unfortunately, who suffered a 49-33 loss to Northern Colorado at home, homecoming weekend. Really disappointing outcome, right? Tell us about it.
Yeah, honestly, it was a defensive failure all the way through. They allowed 49 points, obviously 482 yards, 350 yards passing, and I believe 248 yards of that passing were on 8 different passes. So explosive plays were killing the Vandals. Their defense just kind of fell apart. It was a meltdown of monstrous proportions for the Vandals, and they were also missing what we should say is missing their quarterback Joshua Wood. Joshua Wood, he was out with a lower body injury, and he was ruled out like right before the game, so it was a kind of surprise scratch. And he should be maybe returning this week. They said he's week to week, and they're going to keep reevaluating him. He is throwing, he is running a little bit, so he should be getting better and better. He's getting stronger, Ford said. But missing Joshua Woods, so Jack, and also their number 2 quarterback, Soratini, had a boot on. He was missing in that game too, so they had to go to number 3 quarterback Jack Wagner, who threw 2 picks. One on the first play of the game, one on the last play of the game, offensively for the Vandals. He also fumbled. So he didn't do a good job of taking care of the ball, but he also did score 33 points for the Vandals offense. That's enough points to win a game. But the defense allows 49, then that's an issue right there.
Yeah, Wagner, of the 3 quarterbacks who started last year, he had the most starts, around 8, I think.
Yeah, I think he got 6 wins, too.
Yeah.
So it was pretty significant win total last year.
Definitely. And, of course, in this case, they brought in, is it Rocco?
Yeah, Rocco Koch.
For a lot of the rushing plays. And he had a lot of success on the ground, too, right?
Yeah, so they basically ran the same play. It's like a trap to the left side between the guard and the tackle with like a tight end and a running back leading blocking for him. He gained 81 total yards of offense, and he scored 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. So they had success running the ball with him. And then they kind of just abandoned it in like the 4th quarter and just kind of went away from it, which is kind of shocking to us in the press box. But they did have success on offense with Rocco Koch.
Yeah.
So let's talk about WSU a little bit. WSU barely lost to Ole Miss. And that's a number 4, number 5 team in the nation right now. So tell me about that loss.
Yeah, so walking in, Wazoo, by most sports books, were a projected 32.5-point underdog. And so, they were expected to lose by 30-some points. Instead, Wazoo walked in there and scored first. The Ole Miss had the ball first and, drove all the way down to the end zone. To the red zone, excuse me, and then Trinidad Chambliss, who's been an electric quarterback all year for Ole Miss, his pass falls incomplete, turnover on downs, Wazoo gets the ball. Eventually, Zevi Eckhouse leads the offense down the field, and he scores a touchdown pass to Landon Wright, redshirt freshman. All that to say, Wazoo kept pace with Ole Miss and only lost by 3 points. It was a final Ole Miss 24, Washington State 21. The defense was electric. Bobby Terrell had 4 tackles for a loss, including 2 sacks. And then the running game, led by Kirby Voorhees, who had a 46-yard touchdown run, 88 yards total. He was the leading force on the ground for Wazoo. And, there were lulls, throughout the game. They only scored 3 times. But still, scoring 3 times against the SEC defense on the road in their place is a big accomplishment. And, if it weren't for a couple penalties or missed tackles here or there, the Cougs might have emerged with, the number 1 story of the day in college football.
Yeah, we had a tale of 2 games right here where Idaho was 19.5-point favorites and lost by 16 points, and then we had 32.5-point underdogs that lost by 3 points?
By 3 points, yeah.
So I mean, why did WSU have success, and what does this mean for their season going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, as as disrespectful as it may be to Virginia or the other teams in their schedule, it only gets easier from here. Ole Miss was probably the toughest team on their schedule, maybe next to Washington. But Ole Miss, top 5, it was the toughest. They go on the road to at number 18 Virginia next week, and then they've got home games against Toledo, Louisiana Tech, and Oregon State. On the road against Oregon State at James Madison. So they'll have their work cut out for them, but it's what once was, especially you think about a month ago where Wazoo had just lost by 49 points to North Texas, by 49 points to North Texas on the road, turned the ball over 5 times. It was pretty devastating for Coug Nation. Everyone, it was the 3rd game of the season, but people are already kind of giving up. And you look at a month later, they play a competitive Apple Cup that gets away from them. They've won, obviously they entering that game, they had already won twice, but they've won convincingly over Colorado State, a future Pac-12 conference foe. Had their bye week, and now they go on the road and in front of a pretty sizable Wazoo contingent. There are 8,000 Cougs who turned up to Oxford, and they make it a game. They make it competitive, and they stay in it, and they almost win. And almost a win, a loss is still a loss. Like Jimmy Rogers was very clear that there's no moral victories, and the team's going to continue to work and continue to improve, which is what he should say. That's his job as a coach, is to win games and to get to a point where he can win games. But nonetheless, he got pretty darn close this week, and that's something that is encouraging to a lot of Coug fans.
Well, we're going to close it out here because we had a pretty long high school part of our podcast. So thank you for listening to The Final Whistle. I'm Trevor Junt. That's Sam Taylor. And read more about our columns and stories at sports at lmtribune.com/sports. So thank you for listening.